Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our English language programme on Angelus TV, Heart to Heart. I'm Sister Mary and my guest this afternoon is Theo Powell. And I first met Theo about a year and a half ago when we were recording the Easter programme. And what struck me about Theo was his competence behind the camera, his attention to detail, and even more important, his attitude with us nervous presenters. And so I'm delighted to welcome Theo back. In fact, Theo is probably our youngest person working on Angelus TV, and I'm the oldest. So Theo, welcome. Thank you for making time.
I want to thank you as well.
Yeah. Theo is in year 10 at the Greek Catholic school.
Yes.
Theo, can you help me understand a little bit about what helps a 16-year-old reach such a maturity? We were talking just a few minutes ago off camera, and unfortunately that's been lost. But it was a wonderful conversation where you were speaking about seeing beyond the surface, below the surface, through your camera work. What has helped you reach this kind of wisdom and maturity? Can you tell us a little bit about?
Of course.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you for the kind words. I do not have an answer for this question. It's not a secret recipe that I have. It's simply the fact that you're observing people and their action. So this actually makes you understand how we act in different situations and sometimes what to show on a picture.
Yeah. So but you seem to have an ability to pay attention. In spiritual terms, we talk about that a lot, but you won't have come across it in that way. But the fact that you pay attention to people, you observe, you notice their needs. Is that the most important thing for you in your photography?
Yes, that actually is. It happens a lot when I'm speaking, when I'm in a conversation with someone, and we walk or we pass some landscape or something. I usually disrupt the conversation and say, hey, look, that tree is nice. Because even though I pay attention to the conversation, I do pay attention to everything around me as well. Because sometimes, you don't know when, but you might lose a picture that could actually look pretty cool.
And what is it that attracts you to stop? Is it something unusual, something beautiful, something inspiring? What?
It's again a hard question. Usually I simply stop when I think, like I visualize first that object and then I transpose it into an image, but in my imagination. And then I decide if I should stop or not. Because if in my head I think it's going to look good, then I'm going to stop. Let's take the camera out, take the picture, and then edit it, of course.
So when I first saw you in April 2021, you're a 14-year-old, competent behind the camera. How did all this start? When did it start? When did you realize you had skill and aptitude?
Well, everything started with one single picture. I took the picture on a mountain. I was hiking with my father and some friends, and my father stopped. He took a picture of the sun. It was the golden hour, that moment when the sky is orange and it's super cinematic. So I said, okay. He stopped. He took a picture. Why shouldn't I do the same? Like, this should be impressive. So I took my phone. I have actually brought my phone here. The phone.
The phone that took the first
Exactly.
picture.
This is where I started taking pictures. I took the picture. Sadly, I lost it. throughout the archive. I do not have it anymore, but
What a pity.
yes, it's still in my memory.
Ah,
Like I can still remember it right now. So after I took that picture and I liked it, I looked at it, I said, this actually looks nice. I started to ask my father about photography questions and different type of subjects, of course, photography related. And he's not a professional photographer either, but out of what he knew, he taught me
oh,
rules and composition. What he knew, he taught me everything. So
okay. So your father was
yes,
important in this, but you noticed something. You saw the combination of that color and the technique, and something was sparked in you.
exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
and
I
you've never stopped.
Exactly. I have never stopped. I liked it a lot. And I liked the fact that when I showed it to other people, they were actually feeling something. They were looking at it and they were actually imagining themselves into that picture.
Oh.
So this thing made me happy.
That's an interesting word, that people were feeling something. So I'm just wondering if it's okay to mention whether this is like a holy work that you do. Is there something about being called to enable others to feel something that you feel, or what around that word feel? What are you feeling, and what are you hoping that others will feel when they look at your work? And maybe we've got some examples of your work that you could share with us.
We have some examples, but before the pictures, I wanted to say that as a photographer, you capture light and reflection. That's pretty much the basics, the definition of photography. Now, how you capture the light, it gives or it doesn't give some feelings. But photographers usually take pictures, so when you look at their picture, you have a feeling. You feel yourself in a different way that you usually don't. Like when you're going outside on the street, you don't usually have that feeling. So you want to transpose different feelings so it is a pleasure to see your images and look at them.
How do you think it compares with art? Because I understand what you said about capturing a feeling. I am not a photographer and I don't take pictures, but I do resonate with what you're saying about trying to capture the image. So I stay with the feeling. So when I'm looking at something beautiful, I stop and I remember, I kind of put that image in my mind somewhere. How would you say that is photography an art? Does it compare with artists painting? Do you do that as well? Maybe I don't know.
I do actually paint.
Ah.
I painted when I was little. Now I started photography,
Oh.
and it's a bit easier because you actually go on the field, you go outside, and you take the picture. You do not have to start painting what you see. But they are the same thing because the composition rules, the color rules, it's the same thing. You still need to capture colors, and you have the chromatic colors. So you do have the same rules for both photography and painting.
Yeah, can you help me understand a little bit about when you said about light and reflection? Because those are words that are important for me in my spiritual life. And I reflect. I spent a lot of time trying to reflect on my own life and on the life of, and light. We talk about God being light, and light is important. We like to be around people who bring light. So in that sense, does it connect, do you think, with the things of God?
Yes, they do. Because essentially, when you're photographing nature, you're pretty much photographing God's creation. So that's one thing of showing what God made. And for example, you show the beauty of nature, how powerful the nature is, and then you can understand that God created it and he's even more powerful.
Wow. Yeah, so looking beyond again, beyond or
Exactly.
below what we're seeing in this beauty or power of creation, there is the creator that is even more powerful,
Exactly.
even more beautiful, even more alluring in a sense. I hope we'll be able to look at some of your photographs.
Yes,
I don't
of course.
know whether, do you think it's a good time just to reflect on one of them?
Sure.
So maybe we could. So can you tell us about this, Theo? Where is this, and what drew you to?
This picture was taken when I was hiking on the mountain.
Here in Romania?
Yes, in Romania. I was with Father Dan, and we were hiking, and I saw this cliff. It's not a cliff, a mountain, but the rocks were very impressive. In photography, there is a rule. We have here 5 different peaks, and usually in photography, you want to have not pair numbers.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how to express
odd
it.
and even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is why I have there 5 peaks. And the most important part is that one diagonal is black and the other is white.
Okay. So that leads me to wondering about black and white photography as opposed to color photography.
Yes.
Which one is hardest to capture and which one appeals to you most, or has each got its?
Well, both are hard to capture, but of course, capturing color is more complicated because you don't want to have too many colors. That would be a chromatic aberration. And suddenly there will be too many things that capture your attention. And this won't help your photography too much.
Tell me about chromatic aberration. I've never heard that expression before. It sounds interesting.
It's a term that we use when we have too many colors and your eye gets lost through them. Okay. You usually need to understand the colors and choose the best colors that work together. For example, orange and blue, teal and orange. You usually see this in movies as well. A lot of movies like in the desert with the sand, the yellow, orange sand, and then the blue sky. You see them quite often. For example, Mad Max, the movie, is based on those colors.
Oh, I haven't seen that. But what I do remember from school, because we had to do art for 3 years, I was not good at it, but I remember some of the details of colours, the contrasting colours, the orange and blue and yellow and purple, is it? And and green?
Yes. You usually do not use, like, you don't have light sources, natural light sources that give purple colors. But if you have them, you can use them. For example, lights or artificial lights.
Okay. So maybe we could have an example of your colour photography then.
Okay, of course. And this picture is from a concert that I've taken. It's colored, as you can see. Not too many colors. Again, we have the teal and orange, the blue shirt and the orangish guitar. It's quite interesting because the composition is odd. You have a wine glass in the right side, and in the left side, you have a glass with beer that I have found, and I said, okay, those look interesting. So we have the subject in the middle, and then 2 different objects that give depth to the image, so it's not plain.
Oh, and you seem to have captured the expression on his face, to my mind, or my unprofessional judgment, but it is an interesting image.
Yes.
You must be proud of that. So we've had a look a little bit at black and white and colour and looked at that. Um, what about actual filming now? So you've here at Angelus TV.
Yes.
You've been spotted and encouraged to start on this career. And I understand you come after school, and I was very impressed when I invited you and you couldn't come until after your classes had ended. I think that's really important.
Yes.
It also shows something of your maturity, that you appreciate that there are other things to learn. But this is something really strong in you that is calling to you to be developed.
Yes.
So what about the difference then between a still and filming? What have you had to learn that's different in filming?
Well, filming is a bit more complicated because suddenly you need to have to have your recording stable. Like even if you move, you need to pay attention so the image doesn't shake too much. More problems start to appear. Technical problems in camera needs to be solved, like different lightings, because you can't force your camera too much.
So you have to pay attention to several things
Yes.
at once.
Yes.
Definitely not for me, because I can only do things sequentially. But I can see that it's a skill that you have to practice.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah.
Even audio, you need to capture audio. A video has audio, and it's as important as video. Like audio and video, they go together.
Okay.
If you have an image of a crying person and you put a happy melody, then the whole mood is ruined. While having a picture, you do not have audio. So you simply leave the person to think and understand the picture. So
you mentioned Mad Max, I think, a film I've not seen. Can you tell me about a film that has struck you as being very interesting from the technical point of view?
It's Grand Hotel Budapest, directed by Wes Anderson. And yes, he's very known. But he has an interesting type of composition because he is based a lot on symmetry. He uses symmetry, something that in the photographic rules is not normal. It's not usual to use symmetry that much. But in a lot of his scenes from the hotel, you could see that if you draw a line in the middle of the screen, both sides were almost equal.
So fascinating that the symmetry and the, yeah.
Yes.
So Theo, I'm not sure how long we've been talking now, but it's fascinating. And this is just a first time. So I'm just trying to pay attention as you do when you're filming to what you're saying rather than sticking with what I had prepared. But
Right.
One of the things I was wondering about is if at 16 you already have had this experience, what do you hope you will be doing in 10 years' time? Where and what do you hope you will have achieved in this world?
That's a good question. Well, an answer that I would give, and I will give because it's actually very important, is since I'm a Christian, I would like to stick on creating pictures and videos that have God, that help. I don't know how to express myself, but
help people grow or question
yes.
or look.
Yes, and not really promote God, but they have a strong connection with God. For example, Angelus. It's a television, a Catholic television. We speak about the God here all the time. So this is where I feel that I'm doing the right thing because I cannot be wrong.
Okay, so starting here is almost like I feel a bit like the school that you go to, that I often say to
Yes.
people has a wonderful atmosphere, that there's also a godly atmosphere here, that people are trying to promote goodness, to encourage life and beauty and the arts, not just the Bible, but finding God in all things.
Exactly.
Excuse me, now maybe that's coming out of my own tradition, because the Ignatian thing is to find God in all things. But I think this is what Angelus TV is trying to do, and that you, as a young person, with your vitality and interest, are playing a major role.
Yes, yes. It's interesting. And I remember the Jesuit saying, ad maiorem Dei gloriam.
Oh, wow.
So this is actually what makes me go and do this.
Yeah, go further.
Exactly, go further and not stop.
Yeah, because the Margis is a very important term.
Exactly.
Yeah, you seem to know it.
Yes.
I don't want to intrude too much. It's too intimate on your own spiritual journey, but it's obvious to me that you are somebody who takes God to others by what you do. I can't begin to thank you for this interview, but before we leave, maybe just so that people have an idea about you, so is there anything else that you are really passionate about as well as filming? I was wondering, only I'm not at all knowledgeable about football, but the World Cup is coming, and so I was thinking, are you interested in that? And what does fascinate me is a connection between sport and spirituality, that there's a goal, people work together, there's a physicality about it, and there's a bit like in your work, an expression that I've come to hear is about people being in flow. So I've kind of forgotten to ask you about that. Maybe I'll come back. But before that, are you interested in football or anything else?
I do play football in school.
Okay.
But since 2016, when my favorite team lost the World Cup, I was so disappointed that I didn't watch it anymore. But I have other passions besides filming and taking pictures. Of course, playing games. I'm still a teenager, so...
computer games?
Yes, computer games.
But don't become an addict.
Yes, not an addict. In my free time that's left, it's a little, but it's still there. And I'm a scout. So that's quite interesting.
Because you mentioned about your first picture came from being when you were on a hike.
Yes.
So scouts, that's something also quite physical.
Very
in
physical.
Nature, and yeah. So forgive me for going back to this word, in flow.
It's okay.
So do you know what I mean by being in flow? Maybe not. It's something about when you're totally absorbed in what you're doing. It's challenging, but you are so absorbed in it that it's almost that you're taken out of yourself, like ecstatic about it. And sometimes people talk about mindfulness is a bit like that, that you're absolutely focused on what you're doing, but enjoying it. It's not, you're not suffering, you're enjoying it. And I sometimes think that happens with sport because of the movement, and possibly with artists or photographers. Do you have any sense of what I'm talking about?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Usually when I record, for example, I'm at the event and I need to take pictures or record a movie, I usually get so into what I'm doing that I don't even realize that people are near me. For example, the picture with the wine glasses, I simply came to the people's table. I took the camera and took the picture. I
Yeah.
did not care of
Yeah.
the people near me. I was
Yeah.
so absorbed into what I was doing, so I did not really pay attention.
Thank you. And I don't know whether we have a clip of something you filmed.
No,
No.
right
Okay.
now, not.
Okay. Okay. So Theo, thank you very, very much for this heart-to-heart, in which you bared your soul a little bit as well, and just incredibly impressed that somebody as young as you are can reach such profound thoughts. And it gives me courage to continue with this kind of work because of meeting them. So, thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. I also wanted to ask if I can thank to the people who helped me in this.
Yeah.
I want to thank my family because they have actually helped me a lot. They understood my needs and let me stay after school and help here. I want to thank all the people from Angelus TV that actually taught me what I know now. Because when I came here, I just knew how to fly a drone. So this is how I came here. But I've come to learn a lot of things, and this is where the video passion actually grew.
Thank you. And we should say that Theo is speaking in his third language.
Yes, this is why I find it a bit complicated.
You've done extremely well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. And I'm sure you agree with me that Theo is the face of the future. Thank you.